And in theory, we are streaming now. Okay. Stream. Every time I do this, it's always a weird process because to get these things to go live, I have software that streams it OBS, and then it's going into YouTube, and then I have to take my link from YouTube onto Patreon to sync all the things up. There's a little bit of a process there, so sorry about that. But if you're watching later, or if you just happen to be sitting there right as I went live, which seems impossible. So my wife and kids, or two kids that can speak, have been out of town the last week, and they literally just got home about 30 minutes ago. That's why I'm running a little bit late on today's live stream. If you're trying to watch live, that's the context of everything, is that everybody just got home. And so literally up until right before 2 o'clock, I had a baby sleeping on me, and now wife has the baby. So we'll probably go short today because of that, with the family all just getting home. And I haven't really left my house. I haven't been able to shower. I haven't been able to shoot anything since Thursday night after midnight while the baby was sleeping, and my fingers were crossed that the baby wouldn't wake up. So I was able to get my Spider-Man review up, and we had to stay up till 5:30 to get that done. Had to wake up then at 7:30 because I wanted to kind of jump on and comment when it went live and everything. But then, yeah, I've just been at home with the baby, taking care of her and everything. So, but wife, kids, everyone is home now, and so yeah, I gotta get back into it. This next week, next 2 weeks, I don't know, maybe all of July are just like a sprint for me. Because we got, with Spider-Man coming out, I mean, it's updated Spider-Man rankings. We're going to have another Spider-Man movie for 2 years, so I want to have all my Spider-Man rankings up to date. Spoiler review, I want to do a live chat. Got Midsummer coming out, and then it's also an MCU film, so got some MCU rankings, Phase 3, a bunch of different things coming out. So it's like a crazy little adventure for the next little bit of time. Whew! McCaven Comics, hey, Sean, hey, back at you. Ruben Otter, hey, to you as well. Jackson, third, hey, Jackson, we ordered some groceries right before wife left town. We bought groceries for the first time. Not in general, but he knows what I'm talking about. Rich Reviews, howdy. Hey, Sputnik 100. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. So actually, while everyone was gone, I basically only watched movies because I couldn't do much around the house. Couldn't get much work done, but I could sit there watching movies and writing notes. So I watched every Quentin Tarantino movie except Django Unchained, which I think my wife will watch with me, so I didn't rush to get that one done. I watched almost all the Rambo movies, watched all of the Conjuring movies, and Spider-Man Far From Home. So only one PG-13 movie, only one kids movie in all of it. Lots of very violent films with a lot of bad language this past week for me, which was a lot of fun. It's kind of, you forget some of the, suddenly not having to worry about kids walking in the room and repeating phrases or seeing someone's skull being bashed in or demon possessed, or, with a wife that's, more sensitive to violence and some of that stuff. Suddenly where you just kind of drift like, all right, I guess I'm going to watch really violent things for a whole week straight, exclusively. Except that Spider-Man movie I have to watch for my job. So it's a pretty exciting stuff. All right, Rich Reviews. So if you weren't married, would you date Zendaya? No. Kind of a random question. Now, I'm pretty sure we have very different worldviews. So just even that you'd be drawn to that new TV show she's on makes me go, nope, we're not in the same realm of value sets, and the characters she's largely chosen to play and messages she's just decided to send are not the ones that I would be interested in. So I'm also 15 years older than her, and I'm sure in Hollywood that's like no big deal. Hey, if you're 40, you're supposed to be dating a 20-year-old, but normal people think that's weird and creepy. So yeah, I'm maybe in a few years, then she'd be in an age range that didn't seem super weird. But when I'm pushing 40 and she's pushing 25, it still seems like you're in that category of like, not so much. Ruben Otter, have you already seen the new Stranger Things trailer? I thought it was amazing. No, I haven't watched it. I don't think I watched the last two because I don't have a reason to. I think I reacted to the first trailer, and it didn't do great for me. And so then I do trailer reactions because if there's interest or if I have something I want to talk about or something like that. But they're more content that it's I'm not interested in reacting myself. Like that's not the reaction part to it of like people watching me do this. That's not my thing. I like to get my ideas out there. And sometimes I just don't like I'm going to watch Stranger Things Season 3, so I don't need to watch the trailers to convince me to watch it. Therefore, I don't feel the need to watch the trailers and don't want to watch the trailers. And so if the first one wasn't successful enough to make me go, oh, I'm going to better react to all of these. And so I'd rather just kind of go in fresh. So I don't think I've watched the last two of them. Like, I don't know much of anything about what it's about other than surrounding. It seemed like there's a little political stuff going on July 4th. But on the topic of Stranger Things and Quentin Tarantino, when I watched this last week, at 11 o'clock today, I started rewatching through the series, so I'm about halfway through episode 3 of season 1. That's literally what I was doing until my family got home, was watching Stranger Things with a baby sleeping on top of me. They came home, and then I walked upstairs to talk to you wonderful people. Rich review. So I went to see Top Gun. My question was, the gay subtext always there? I mean, no, that's the strange thing about modern times is that we're both very sensitive about things, and we find homoerotic subtext in things of the past because we weren't as I don't know what the language would be for it, but guys wore short shorts back in the day. Guys were more affectionate without the fear of being called names or anything like that. And now we're like in an uber sensitive about those things now, but somehow we still identify things that are not actually any reason to think there's a subtext there. Suddenly we think that way, but I mean, that didn't seem to be the topic of conversation until about the year 2000, where it suddenly was like, oh, this is hilarious, which it's guys playing volleyball with their shirts off and giving each other hugs, so make of that what you will. But I mean, Rocky 3, they're running around on the beach in midriffs giving each other hugs. It's the 21st century thing that we're now interpreting things like that into these movies. Jackson, awesome! Groceries, yeah. It was actually baby food. My wife left town, and she didn't leave, like a grocery shop or leave baby food, so I had like one bottle's worth of formula, and so she left, and at the airport, ordered it for me. Oh, where am I at? Uh-oh. Questions. Rich reviews. I'm going to post 2 reviews tonight. One for Daughter of the Wolf and the other for an anthology film called Cinema Nightmare. Very cool. KBN Comics, is your baby going to have their own ranking of their favorite R movies from the past week? I don't know. She's kind of checked out. She doesn't pay attention to things very well and doesn't communicate well. So I didn't get a good vibe as to which ones she actually liked and which ones she did not. So unfortunately, probably not. Jackson, I don't remember if you said it, but I saw multiple non-spoiler reviews for Far From Home say if you skip the first end credit scene, the movie is a totally different film. Is this true in your mind? If you skip the first end credit scene, the movie is a totally different film. If you skip the first one, I don't see this information, the movie's totally different. No, it's the second one. I think you can make that argument. The first one, I don't think you could make that argument. Both of them are huge. Each of them have at least 2 big, like, whoa, things inside of them in different ways. Different types of whoa. I think it's the second one that they're referring to that the first post-credit scene is more of like a, I don't know, both of them are kind of showing you future things, and they're both huge. They're both very cool. I don't want to say too much more than that, but whatever they're referring to, I think is the second one, not the first one. Can't think of how but you'll love both of them. People are gonna, like, if you're in a theater with a general audience opening night, when these post-credit scenes happen, people are gonna go wild. Cody, what's up, Sean? You planning on going to see Midsommar? What's up? Family's back in town. Need more sleep, but I got a big week ahead of me. Because I plan on seeing Midsommar, and I think my reviews, I'll tell you right now. I have a very full week. I mean, it's just, in talking about a lot of different stuff, like this is as jam-packed of a week as almost any Tons of Spider-Man, of course, but then I'm talking about June movies, Blu-ray haul. Thursday is my Midsummer review. And then Saturday, going to have my best and worst of 2019 in the first half of the year. But Thursday, Midsummer, yeah, absolutely plan on being there. I don't know, maybe I'll be able to go with my buddy Andy. He wigged out when we watched Hereditary together. Shadow Reviews. I'm rewatching Endgame in about an hour. Yeah, I've had so many people ask me. It's about once an hour I get someone private messaging me, "Hey man, are you going to go see the Endgame remake or remake? No, that would be something different entirely. Re-release." And I don't have any plans to. I don't think it would. Just doesn't seem like a good use of my time right now. I'm just slammed. I have to get my Conjuring ranking done, and then I've got all sorts of fun stuff planned for this next week. So I just can't go out and spend 3 hours watching a movie I've already seen to see a couple of Blu-ray special features a month early. That's what it feels like. Yeah, look, here's a sneak peek at some of the deleted scenes and some of the Blu-ray special features. Pretty cool, right? Not really. You're just trying to beat Avatar, so I can't do it myself. Rich reviews. So apparently the filling fee Mount Everest is 11,000. I don't know what you're trying to say there, but yeah, I'm not quite sure what you're saying there. Rich reviews. Thoughts on the trailer for the new Charlie's Angels film? I didn't watch it. As I kind of say on here a lot, I don't really watch trailers if I'm not reacting to them for the most part. There's a few exceptions to it. Maybe I'll watch Charlie's Angels with my wife or something like that. But I know I couldn't react to it, couldn't do a video about it, so I just haven't watched it. That's normally kind of my answer on a lot of this stuff. Like I just haven't watched it very intentionally. Yeah. Rich reviews officially have 30.4 thousand total views. Very cool. Very cool. Shadow reviews. Last night I watched the Dark Knight trilogy movies back to back to back. It was really fun. That'd be a nice. That'd be about 8 hours straight of Dark Knight. So that'd be a fun time. I don't think I've ever done that. I don't think I've ever watched all three of them just in one sitting. I did. This whole week was every day about 5 hours of Tarantino. So I got a lot of Quentin Tarantino this last week for me. Which reviews? Is YouTube in the habit of taking away views? Sort of. They purge things as they realize falsehoods. So sometimes they purge subscribers, and then they realize that bots, or the bots that are the subscribers, also did bot views and things like. So there's purge things. Sometimes there's just numbers that funky. If you make a video unlisted, then it removes those views from your view count. So, but I mean, YouTube wants to be successful, and so they're not. It might look like, oh no, they knocked me back on my views, but that's like to them an arbitrary metric because that's not your actual view count doesn't change anything really. Jackson, I love Lost in Translation. I feel that it's the most flawless film I've ever seen. I'd love to hear a few of your criticisms of the film if you have them. I haven't really seen it. I know I've started it many times, but I've never finished it. And there's no story there. It's not like, I just couldn't finish this movie. Just however the universe played out, I just haven't watched it. So I don't have any thoughts on it. It didn't pull me in when I started it, but it's not like I stopped it for any reason like that. It was just one of those movies that just kind of, nothing about it compelled me to make sure I watched it. So I haven't seen it. The Shadow reviews. Two of my MCU headcanons are Tony Stark has headcanons. Wait. Tony Stark has ADHD and Gamora is gray asexual. I'm not really sure what I don't know if a word was misspelled or if I'm missing a phrase or something, but I'm not quite sure what you mean on that one. Rich reviews. It feels as if everyone has seen Far From Home. Therefore, I feel I can't get any views if I do a review. I mean, not everyone has seen it. Press people have seen it, but that's far from everyone. I mean, it's all what your content strategy is. I wouldn't perceive of Marvel movies as kind of being your niche, and that's kind of the question: is what do you want to be known for? What's the thing that you're establishing yourself as? I'm the person that has opinions on this, and you build an audience around that sort of thing. And so, if you're just trying to jump on the waves and figure out what the things other people are being successful at, then that's you're chasing other people's success rather than kind of cutting your own path. So I wouldn't necessarily know. I don't know what your specific content strategy is. I don't know what niche you want to be in. I don't know what group you want to kind of gather. But there's always more people that want to hear about it. And the key thing is not getting one more random review out there, but creating a space where people care about your thoughts about a specific thing. Would be my quick thoughts on that. Rich Reviews wasn't a big fan of Hereditary. I can see the trailer for Midsommar. I'm like, check please. I didn't love Hereditary either. I'm a bit confused by the amount of praise it gets. Like, I just don't know what the way people talk about it. Like they saw something there that I didn't see, and there were things in it that just seemed like this is way over explaining things. Like this was way more interesting when I didn't know as much, and now you just keep telling me more, and every time you tell me more, it's a little less interesting to me. So that's one that's always been a little bit. I didn't hate it and dislike it, but it just so many people praised it so heavily. I'm like, I'm not tracking with you really, and I don't get scared by movies, so it didn't help much either. Rich Reviews. What are your plans for 4th of July? I don't know. I don't have any. I don't really have any. Jackson, do you consider Far From Home to be more spoiler heavy than Endgame? No, that's pretty silly. I've heard some people say that. I kind of know what they're talking about, but not really. I mean, saying it more spoiler heavy, like it's a spoiler heavy movie. There's some big twists and turns in the narrative. The post-credit scenes are pretty big, but with Endgame, I mean, it's like beginning to end. Everything is a spoiler type thing. Endgame is just, and even they kept so much secret in the trailers very wisely in the way they did it before release. And whereas here, it's not quite like that. So I think even some of that buzz is kind of making people speculate, and they're putting ideas in their heads of like, if it goes in this direction, it could do this, and because they said this, it could be this. And then people like me right now, the post-credit scenes, I think it's just getting people speculating, and people go in expecting Endgame level wow. It's not quite like that. The post-credit scenes, there's some post-credit scene stuff that match some of the wow stuff from Endgame, but the movie as a whole, not at all. I wouldn't say. Cody, I tweeted you from my pod account, RRF Film Pod, about doing a review with us when you're free. Would you be interested in that movie being Midsommar? I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know if I'd be the right person. That wouldn't be the one I would jump towards, because it's not one that I feel like I'm the right audience to have something good to say. Even just looking at the month, I could see even stuff like Stuber or, of course, Lion King. I would feel a little bit more in my realm. I'm guessing I'm going to be a person that will struggle to have enough things to say about Midsommar. The nature of the way Hereditary, like even to what I just said about other people like being wowed by it. For me, it just kind of fell in it just didn't fall in that category of I didn't hate it, to where that's an interesting thing. I didn't love it and want to tell you about how deep and amazing it was. I was kind of in that middle realm. And from the things I have heard from other people that have seen Midsommar, I would guess I'm probably still going to fall into it of respecting what they're trying to do while it not being my thing. So I wouldn't think I'd be the right person for that. Especially looking at what's coming out over the next 2 months, or what comes out every month. That's not the one I would jump towards to feeling the right person to be on a podcast talking about it. So I'd probably say no to that one. Where I just, like I said, the stuff later in the month stuff later in the month, I'd probably be more inclined to be a yes for. Shadow Reviews. The Dark Knight trilogy is basically just one 7 hour and 13-minute movie if you remove the credits. In some ways, yeah. I think there's some benefit to the gaps in it, where they're not like when you think Rogue One kind of goes straight smoothly right into A New Hope, whereas there's benefit to not watching The Dark Knight and then The Dark Knight Rises. There's a benefit to you watch one, you take some time off, and you come back to it because the movie takes time off. There was a 7 or 8 year gap there. But, of course, they all go together and they're all constructed to carry themes throughout them. But in its own way, I think that each one does have kind of its own beginning and end. So I'd half agree, half kind of disagree because of that gap where there's a pause that makes sense to pause a little bit. Rich Reviews, we should team up together sometime. If we got a concept that makes sense, perhaps we can make something work. Rich Reviews, breaking: Disney push pause on Alien Nation remake. Yeah, that's what I heard. They've got a bunch of Fox stuff that had been in the works. Disney's like, pause on a bunch of it, which makes sense because Disney doesn't want to compete with themselves. And Disney already has a very full slate of movies. And you start going, Alien Nation, like, okay, if this thing's not like awesome, that's a weird thing to turn into a movie you're thinking you're going to make a bunch of money on. Like, hey, remember that thing from 30 years ago? Oh, yeah, like the aliens with the shaved heads and spots on their heads. And he's like a cop. Yeah, I kind of remember. It's just not one of those ones that's kind of stuck in the popular culture at all. In any way, shape, or form. Alien Nation just has not been remembered. And then it touches on stuff that it feels like we've seen other people do that sort of thing. So I'm not surprised at all that one got put on the shelf. The Shadow Reviews. A headcanon is something that's not officially canon, but certain members of the audience believe it is canon. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Oh, makes sense. Rich Reviews. Thoughts on Roland Emmerich's Battle of Midway trailer. Once again, I haven't seen it. And that'll kind of probably, if I don't have a video on my channel about a new trailer, I haven't seen it. It's the same answer. Rich Reviews. Thoughts on a prequel TV series to The Beach, like the Leonardo DiCaprio, Daniel O'Boyle movie. That would seem kind of crazy to me if they did that. So I don't know anything about. I don't know if that's something that's actually being discussed, but that just seems like. Let's just put 1,000 movie titles in a hat and pull one out randomly and say we're going to do a prequel TV series. So it seems baffling to me. Okay. Ruben Otter, what are your thoughts on A Quiet Place sequel? To me, it feels like a cash grab. And that's what it is. That's why it got greenlit. The movie got greenlit very quickly. Quiet Place cost $10 million, made $200 million just in the U.S. Let's do another one. And that's not it means they're able to fund other things. It's tough to know without even having a concept. The movie both feels self-contained, or it is self-contained, and the story and the lore and the aliens and everything are kind of designed to fit together. At the same time, it's a big world. It's like the idea of these sound creatures. You can tell more stories, and there's more things you could do. So, you gotta see. I gotta see what the concept is. It's not one that I immediately thought this is just a setup for a sequel right here. And to a greater extent, it feels like one to where maybe a prequel would be in order. Not necessarily about that family, but you do a prequel about the fall of society. But at a certain point in time, it just kind of turns generic if you don't like it. If it's suddenly a post-apocalyptic film with these creatures, okay, we've seen that before. The creatures weren't the most interesting thing about the movie. The setting of being quiet. So I don't know. I have to see a little bit more, hear a little bit more before I could have too many strong thoughts on it. Cody, finally just ordered my I Talk Movies Too Much t-shirt on your store. Oh, thanks so much. I greatly appreciate it. Very cool. Ruben, you skipped my question, but I found it. Rich Reviews, would you ever consider doing a parody of a Mystery Science 3000 episode? Would I ever consider doing a parody of a commentary show? You mean like my own version of it? Where I would talk about it, talk about the show, parody the show, or I mean, my friends and I have done stuff like that. It doesn't jump out to me as something I'd want to do, of kind of cracking jokes about a movie that doesn't strike me as something that I'd be into. I don't know. I just think it's the sort of thing I really liked when I was young, and the older I got, is like, okay, it just feels like a lot of going for low hanging fruit, and so I kind of moved away from that kind of thing. Ruben with the restated question. Rich Reviews, you and Ryan O'Toole's channel I am go to catch up next week. Fun times. I appreciate it. I'm sure Ryan will as well. The Shadow Reviews. My roommate at camp had to go to the hospital because his entire body was tingling and he couldn't move his arm. Turns out he was just dehydrated. Ugh. That's scary. Yeah, that's scary stuff when that happens. But then again, you go off to camp and you get off all the adventures, the fun, or whatever it is. I don't even know what type of camp you're at or anything specific like that, but it's easy for stuff like that. I mean, I worked with teenagers for years, and every single summer someone would get dehydrated or something else like that. Rich Reviews, have you seen the made-for-TV Ewoks movie? Of course, I grew up watching them. I mean, I did a ranking of the Star Wars spin-offs, and I talked about them in there, and I might have done reviews of both of them on my channel, too, so I've talked about them a bunch, but Caravan of Courage, it's a pretty tough watch now. It's the way it's structured, the effects, everything pretty rough. And then Battle for Endor, I think, is much more exciting film. Really dark, how dark they go in the beginning of it. Like, shocking. Like, wow, that's I can't believe you would go there in this movie that's very clearly aimed for children. And you killed a lot of people off right there. So, but I think it's a better structured adventure film than Caravan of Courage. It's literally like, and then they go and try and find the parents, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. There's like 8 things that happen right here between leaving the village and getting to where the parents are at, and you can take any of these and put them in any order. It's just, we have to fill up. Let's put a bunch of little episodes in there between the commercial breaks because it's a TV movie. And it doesn't really matter what happens with any of them. Jackson, does Joe Fillion just give a great performance like always, or does he give a performance that feels like it fits the vibe of the MCU? Yeah, both. I mean, he's not doing Nightcrawler or anything like that. I mean, he's giving a good performance, but it's not. I'm seeing some reviews that are, Gyllenhaal's amazing. I mean, he's very good because he's very good, but he's very good in everything. Like everyone in these movies, they're pretty much everyone in the MCU is pretty great because they cast A-list talent, and then, they're doing blockbustery fun characters, and so that's what he does here too. Matt G, you enjoy the Evil Dead franchise? If so, would you ever rank the movies and TV seasons? Enjoy the movie and seasons they did? Yeah, I've had throughout the 90s, just loved the Raimi films. Watched Army of Darkness on loop. Normally, Evil Dead 2 is normally the one I say is my favorite, but I used to actually, when we first got married, I had the Book of the Dead Necronomicon creepy-looking version of the DVD for the first film, and I kept it on top of my TV, which is funny because it was freaked my wife out, and we got robbed and it was stolen, and so that was over 10 years ago, it was 12 years ago, something like that. But yeah, I love the original 3. I've only seen the remake one time, and it's been on my radar for a long time to rank the Evil Dead movies, and there just hasn't been like a context to do it. My rankings, the one thing that I've learned over time is that if I just drop a random iconic film series ranking, random Saturday, it doesn't do great. I do that same exact video when something new comes out. When there's a context to do it, it does like 5 times as good. And when I do them at a point in time where they don't kind of get traction, they just kind of disappear onto YouTube, and so people don't see them. YouTube doesn't recommend them, and so they're just kind of lost. Like, I ranked the Daniel Craig James Bond movies, and nobody knows that. No one's seen it. It just kind of disappeared because I dropped it randomly. People ask me constantly to rank the Bond movies, and none of them have watched this video that I did. It's all about timing with YouTube. So I've seen all of them. Will rank them at some point in time. It might be this October. And during October that month, people seem more inclined towards that kind of stuff. So I try and drop a couple of horror franchises I haven't done before. So Nightmare on Elm Street's definitely going to happen. Maybe Evil Dead. I'm not sure. One thing I actually wanted to do for this year, and I haven't done it. I haven't done a good enough job with it, but I wanted to do like every month have certain categories that are my things. So every month I definitely have a Marvel video, a DC video, an Office video, a horror video, kind of touch on all of my big categories that people like. And I started off well-intentioned with that, and then it hasn't stayed on. But Evil Dead has been on my mind. I haven't watched all of Ash vs. the Evil Dead. I've only seen most of season 1. And I enjoyed it, but it's not something my wife would watch, and that's kind of been a big part of the problem. Jackson, just off the top of your head, what would you say is the best and worst Adam Sandler movie? Wedding Singer's the best. I don't have to think about that one. Worst, I haven't seen the crappy ones. All the ones that I like, Jack and Jill and all that stuff. That's My Boy, and any of the Netflix stuff besides the one he did 2 weeks ago. I haven't seen any of it, so I don't have a worst. Of the ones I've seen, the Zohan, the one where he's the Israeli hairdresser that's beating guys up because he's former special forces and doing people's hair at the mall, and then like banging chicks. That was the worst one I've seen. I thought it was terrible. Like I couldn't believe how bad it was, how ill-conceived. Like everything about it, I just thought was just terrible. Wedding Singer's easily my favorite. I just think it's a great comedy. Great romance, great 80s nostalgia, works on all the levels for me. Rich reviews. So are you sure you wouldn't want to be on the presidential debate stage? Oh, that sounds like the worst place on earth to be. It's just I don't know what they were like prior to, 10 years ago, about 2008 is when I started paying attention to that. I don't know what it was like before 2008, but it's just been a clown show the last 10 years, 11 years or so, of the ones that I've been paying attention to. And just some of it's shameful, some of it's just embarrassing. And of course, there's the clown show that was the Republican round a few years back. And then this one's looking to be the same stuff of just like, what are they doing? Like, this is the best we've got. This is what everything's come to. This is gross. Like, it's like both of these parties are trying to convince me to hate them. It's just such a clown show. Jackson, if you heard they were making a Godfather 4, would you be psyched or annoyed? I almost said something stupid there. I almost said, well, if they're getting Martin Scorsese back, I could be excited, but that would be a very dumb thing to say. So Paul's like, wait a minute, what am I about to say? That's not real. Nah, I couldn't get excited about that. The people on that one, they just haven't been on their A game. Francis Ford Coppola is not someone like Scorsese. Scorsese stayed kind of this relevant high-end director, and Al Pacino has, who knows, I don't know what he's been doing the last 30 years, especially the last 20. Just very odd choices. And then maybe I'm just not paying attention, but I don't know what Francis Ford Coppola's been up to, but he's really old, and that doesn't normally make me go, he's probably about to have a really nice comeback. So I couldn't get excited about that. Rich reviews. Breaking It producers buy the rights to make a Hellraiser TV series. Interesting. I'd have to know more on that one, but that seems like kind of random. Jackson, how do you feel? How do you handle it when you talk to people about what you do and what you're passionate about, and they don't really care? I don't know. I think you'd have to elaborate a little bit more on what exactly you mean by that one. How do you feel, or how do you handle it when you talk to people about what you do and what you're passionate about, and they don't really care? I don't feel like I can't really think of too many instances of something like that happening. But since I do YouTube for a living, it's inherently interesting. It's a job that has only existed for about 10 years. In 2005, no one was doing what I do for a living. It did not exist. Very few people were doing it 10 years ago. And it's only kind of become something that more and more people have become a YouTuber over the last 7 or 8 years. So even if they're like, you talking about movies? They're just, everyone's fascinated by the idea of knowing a YouTuber. And they want to know how I make money and how the logistics of all of it and what my days look like. So I can't say I've run into too much of it. Like there's a couple of people. There's a boy in my son's class at school, and he has been the last couple of years. And his parents, you know, I saw his dad every day. I'd go to pick up my son at school and, you know, run into his family at the pool a lot. And like Halloween 2017, I was dressed up as the Punisher, and they're like, "Who are you?" It's a Punisher. Like, it's the Punisher. Who's that? And I just didn't know. And then when I ran him into a pool about a year ago, when I was first starting to kind of make money on YouTube, and I was like, I deliver paint at daytime, and then I did review movies at nighttime. And the way he took the husband said that back to his wife is that I have a TV show. Like, he didn't understand what being a YouTuber was. But he's still interested. It wasn't like he was rude. It wasn't like he it's just not his thing. It's totally fine. So I haven't had anything that's been... I haven't had any weird interactions yet. I think about it a lot because there's a side to what I do that's easy to be like, that's a stupid thing to do for a living. That's not real work. Or there's a lot of way things people could perceive of what I do as foolish or silly. And there's a, I guess, side to it that's legitimate. I don't know that having a job you hate, working at an office, being middle management, or any other things that people do in offices for the most part, where they're not really changing the world, they're just helping a big company make more money while being in an office. I don't know that I feel that's more significant than helping entertain people, and like, I'm part of the entertainment industry, I guess is the way you can perceive of it. I don't, it's a new thing to think about. But anyway, I've given a long answer there. Jackson, do you have a favorite band? No, I don't like to pick favorites. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Like, I could list people of like a bands that have kind of been important or to me and things like that, but it would be misleading. Like, I'm like, oh, Weezer. That's misleading because I haven't listened to any of like their last 4 or 5 albums. So it's my favorite band. I just haven't listened to anything they've put out in 13 years. That doesn't sound like a favorite. That just sounds like a band I grew up listening to. I'll tell you right now, like my playlist on my phone, I use Apple Music, and so I normally just kind of go along with what they give me. And it's almost all 80s stuff or rock from like 1993 until 2003. Alternative, pop punk, emo, modern rock, anything like that. I've got a ton of that. And then, because I come from church with a lot of worship music too, something like that. Rich Reviews, what do you think about the title of Rise of the Skywalker means? What do I think the title of Rise of the Skywalker means? I don't really have a good guess. I don't really have a good guess on what Rise of the Skywalker means. I would think that we'll probably have another big reveal about Skywalker stuff. Maybe Rey will actually be a Skywalker. Maybe something like that will happen. Maybe Kylo will have a change of heart. But I don't have a really good guess. They haven't given us much yet. Even having watched the full panel from Star Wars Celebration where they kind of walked what they were working on and stuff, I don't have a good idea on it. So I don't have a good guess. Matt G., what do you think Shatner's second best work is outside of Trek? I don't know. That's a tough one. I didn't watch the TV show he did with James Spader, and I heard he was great on that. So I don't have a good guess for you. Like with Leonard Nimoy, I would say maybe his best, not his most iconic, but would be like being as a director, because he did Star Trek 3 and 4, and then he did 3 Men and a Baby. And so he's actually like a good director that was successful at it, where Shatner was very unsuccessful at it. But he did some great work on Saturday Night Live. I don't have a good answer for you, unfortunately. Sorry. Jackson, what would you ever do a ranking of top 10, 20 best Tarantino characters? No, I don't think so. I don't think I'd want to rank his characters. It's not quite the same thing. Because when you like ranking the characters from The Office, it's a TV show. You spend an enormous amount of time with them. You're talking about, and it's all one continuity. You're talking about MCU characters, multiple movies. It's a continuity together. But when you go Tarantino characters, it's just the different continuities. You start going, oh man, this guy was just really funny in this one scene. And then other people in a whole movie. It's just too different. too many things to factor in that aren't comparable. Rich reviews. Do you want Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel on HBO? Do you want? I don't watch it or want it or really know what it is. I mean, I've heard of it. I've heard the names, but I don't know anything about it. Rich reviews. What is a ranking video that you wish you could do but decided not to do? One that I wish I could do but decided not to. I mean, of ones I've decided not to, there's not very many. There's ones that I haven't done yet, and there's things that are in the pipeline, but like ones I haven't done would be Leprechaun. Sorry. What? Death Wish. Leprechaun and Death Wish are the two that I just didn't do. I had plans, watched movies, meant to do it. And then Disney. Oh, okay, I have my answer. So these are the two that I just canceled because I went, there's just not a demand, or I don't think I can do my thing with this. The Leprechaun, I was watching them and I went, I don't like these enough to be able to have a number one that I'm actually praising. And I don't want to do a list that's ranked from worst to almost watchable, or something like that. Like, I don't want to do that. When I say best, I actually want to be excited about something. So I couldn't do it. Death Wish, I just went, I don't know would be interested in these. And these are, it's like, it's so schlocky and kind of creepy. And I watched a documentary on Canon Films right around when I was going to rank the Death Wish movies, and Marina Sirtis is in there, and she's like, I was on set of Death Wish 3, and I was basically raped when they're in the rape scene. Like, okay, well, it's tough to watch this movie now the same way. And it's just really put him in a negative, like, very unsettling light that, Deanna Troi from Star Trek is calling the director of these movies I'm about to rank a sexual predator. Okay, I don't want to rank those. But the one that I didn't do, that I didn't feel up to, that I struggled with, was Disney Golden Age. I felt out of my league. The movies are too different from modern films, and so I didn't feel like I could do it right. Rich reviews, rank the Cube films. If they put out a new one, I will. If I do it randomly, I don't think it would work. No one would watch it. No, they're too niche in a way that something has to spark people to be interested in the Cube movies or check it out. Otherwise, like, I put that video out, and I end up actually lose subscribers when I do things like that. Like when I put out my ranking of the Expendables, which is, like I say all the time, I mean, it feels on brand to me, but it's not. I wouldn't understand why it wouldn't be to other people, or like to my average subscriber that's subscribed because of Marvel stuff, why the Expendables would seem off brand. But like, I lose subscribers. I'm in the negative when I put out a video like that. Genre reviews, in-game releases on digital on my birthday. That's so cool. Very cool. Exciting. There's a whole bunch of movies I'm just very excited for. Just a bunch of movies that, because I saw them in the theater and my wife couldn't, or one of my kids couldn't, or something like that. And so this has been a fun year for that reason, of like so many movies that like I'm waiting for them to come out in video so I can watch them with my wife finally. Like, I'm waiting for Shazam, like very excited for Shazam to come out. And if I can do a disc disc and digital deal, I'm going to get it day one, even if I'm overpaying, because I want to watch that with my family. Rich reviews, as always, vote Libertarian. I do. I almost, not exclusively, but almost exclusively have voted Libertarian since 2008. There's been a few exceptions. There's some local politicians where I know people that work for them that told me they were good people directly, like it was a borrowed trust from someone I knew personally, and then I could vote for one of the main two parties. But otherwise, I vote Libertarian because I'm very disturbed by what the main two parties are doing. The candidates they're putting forward, the type of people they are, how just polarizing they're getting on their positions, and they're not working towards finding any sort of middle ground. We're having the dumbest version of every debate. It's not a real conversation. It's a lot of mischaracterizing the other person, and everyone is doing it, both sides, and it's outrageous. And the best people kind of say for why you would pick one over the other is like, oh, they're not as bad as this person. And I don't want to play that game. So I almost always go libertarian. It's not really a protest vote. I'm voting for what I want, which is something to break up the two-party system. It's a vote for something. That's the key thing to me. Rich reviews. Godfather 3 for me has some great scenes and dialogue surrounded by a barren desert. I've actually never seen it. I've seen 1 and 2 a number of times, but the third one, I heard just such mixed things about it. I was like, I don't even feel the need to do this. Jackson, do you still have friends from high school? Actually, yeah, I do. So on the most basic level to that question, kind of some of my best friends for life are people that I met at church. And so like a Vincent Prendergast, Peter Butler are 2 guys that I met in 3rd and 5th grade, and the 3 of us have been buddies ever since then. And so Peter Butler is like a guy I go to the gym with 3 days a week. When I went to go see, when I did a live stream on one of these days this week, I don't know, it'll kind of blend together. Whenever I did the live stream this week, my kid was over at his house. His wife was watching my daughter. And then my Vincent Prendergast, the other guy I mentioned in there, he is one of the people I go to the movies with. He's one of the people that got me into a lot of press screenings before I was on press lists, and so I take him. He still takes me. He still invites me. This past week, Peter and Vincent both invited me to press screenings for Stuber and for Yesterday that I hadn't been invited to by the studio. I couldn't go because of the daughter situation, but so those are 2 guys. And then this one kind of stuck with me. It was interesting. So when I was in high school, I was on ROTC, Air Force Junior Reserved Officer Training Corps. So it's like, I don't know, military club or military class for high school students. And so I don't talk about it much because it's kind of a weird phase in my life, and I don't really resonate with ROTC all that much. So it's kind of a strange deal, and not something I like to talk about. But the friends I made in that are people I'm still friends with now on Facebook. Like the only Facebook friends from high school I have either from church or from ROTC. And actually, the first week I went full-time on YouTube, the teacher that was over our ROTC class died. 85. I mean, it was full life type deal. I mean, a lot of grandkids, so very full life. And so then a bunch of us kind of showed up. And so I was hanging out with these people that I haven't seen in 19 years. Most of them I hadn't seen in 19 years. And, but they're like, these are the people I'm still friends with. And then, actually one of them, I don't know, actually joined here on Patreon. So the chance she's here in the live stream. And, so it's interesting the way that kind of worked out, because I was very social in high school. I didn't really hang out with people, but there are people that meant things to me in their own ways. And so those are the people that, like my 20-year high school reunion is next year. And like if some of the RTC people go, then I'll probably go. But if they don't go, I don't know if I would. So, I don't know. Those are some thoughts. Anyway, that might be a long answer. I'm not sure. Rich Reviews. Do you believe that it is okay to pay minor league baseball players between 5 to 10 grand? I don't know enough about it to be able to chime in on that one. I don't know. I mean, actually, back to the libertarian thing. I tend to be for free markets. And if you want to play baseball and get paid only $5,000 to $10,000 a year to do it, you're getting paid $5,000 to $10,000 to play baseball. So you're choosing to do that. You need another job too. But I don't know enough about it. But I tend to be one to say that if someone wants to be paid a low amount of money to do something, I'm okay with that. 2 people should be able to have an agreement like that. I don't tend to see a problem with that. Jackson, the reason I asked the previous question was because I'm trying to start this new project that partially involves YouTube, but I told my mom that I have something cool that I want to do. And she told me that I don't need to tell her anything about it because she won't understand. It's always been like that with all the jobs I have. I just don't know how to handle that dynamic. I mean, that's kind of different. That's your mom saying that to you is not the same thing as random friend or random person at the pool. There's a side to it that you want your mom to care about what you're doing. You want your mom to, understand your passions and things like that. Because you want your family to understand you. So I think there's a little bit of a different dynamic to it. Like my mom doesn't understand the money side of what I do at all, but she's always been very supportive of me. As she might be watching right now too. She was my first patron supporter actually. So, I don't want to dive into family dynamics, but I think there's a side to it of it's a weird deal when you're trying to get someone you actually care about what they have to say about something, and they're just like, you don't need to tell me about that because I don't understand it. Like, yeah, but I want you to care about what I care about. Chat reviews. I imagine a found footage superhero film Homecoming opening style. Imagine a found footage superhero film Homecoming opening style. I actually haven't seen Chronicle, but I guess Chronicle would be maybe the less fun version of that. But I could be interested in that. Matt G, do you have a degree in theology? We just wondered, would you ever take film-related courses? My degrees are in Bible and Bible teaching. I took several semesters of theology, apologetics, Old and New Testaments. I don't actually have a degree in theology, but I've taken a lot of theology and read a lot of theology. So that's what I have. Would you ever take film-related courses? Absolutely, I would. I've looked into it pretty extensively, what it's offered at the Austin Community College. That's where I went to college before I went off to Bible College, Austin Community College. And I had a good experience there. I thought it was a very good school. It's a community college, but it's a very good school. And a lot of my professors at community college were UT professors that was just their second job. Absolutely, I would take a film course. The tricky part is that I live out in the far suburbs. I'm about as far northeast as you get in Austin before you're in cornfields. There's cornfields in the city I live in. I live in Hutto, and there's cornfields here. And during certain seasons, corn husks will blow in front of my front yard. Even though I'm in a very suburban neighborhood, corn husks will run over me. As soon as August 1st hits, I'll hear gunfire at 8 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon with guys not too far that way shooting their shotguns at doves. And it's dove season, so they start shooting I'm right on the edge of the country. And so Austin Community Colleges, the actual locations are way in the city. And it was very much on my mind of when I go full-time, should I go and take courses? It just turns into, if it takes me 45 minutes to get there, or depending on the location, depending how far, it's like an hour to get there, hour to get back, plus a course. So it turns into, it either eats up my night, my afternoon, or my morning to get that done. And that's where it got tricky, or multiple nights per week. And when trying to start doing something new, I didn't want to eat that much time up with something. So, but I've thought about it extensively. I actually need to look on online courses. I love school. I enjoy learning and I enjoy classes. So, it's on my mind. Rich reviews. Well, currently 90 degrees here in Charlottesville. What's the temperature in Austin? It's a good question. I've barely been outside. It's been weird weather this year. It's been last couple of weeks. We've had a ton of rain, and it's still been really hot, so it's been gross. 94 degrees here in Hutto, Texas. Jackson told me that I don't need to tell her anything. Oh, excuse me, we already did that one. It was in 2 parts and out of order. Whoa, I gotta fly through these. I'm very sorry for falling behind. The good thing and the bad thing about the way I do things is that I don't like to give quick answers. When someone asks me a question, I want to give an answer that satisfies. And I know that when I've kind of had, John Campy and some other people respond to me on some things here and there over the last 7 years, and most of the time I've gotten a quick answer, and I've always been like, that didn't really give me what I wanted. And so I try to not do that with you guys. I try and give you long answers, but that means I go on forever, and sometimes I ramble, and I don't know if it's entertaining for everyone else or what. Matt G, one time I saw a book in the religious section of Borders talking about YouTubing a band matters to people who are trying to find God. As someone who was in that field and also studies music, what do you think about a book like that? I think a book that is about someone taking actual quotes from Bono and his actual upbringing and his actual charitable work in Africa and trying to talk about the theology of U2 and talking about actual things they've said. I think there's benefit to that because it's just Bono is an outspoken person of faith, and sharing his beliefs I think is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. What I don't like is Christians trying to make celebrities that have identified with faith into something they're not. And so then Christians seem to feel assured in their faith when they see a famous person that they look up to say they believe the same things. That's a very common thing. So, Chris Pratt said this. He said it. Like, okay, I mean, it's cool when someone shares your beliefs or whatever. I mean, everyone, whatever your belief system, it's cool when you discover someone that believes the same thing as you. But there's a weird thing that Christians do where they try and prop that up a little bit more. The ones that bugged me is I would go into Christian bookstores and they'd have a book, The Faith of List Politician. That made me very uncomfortable. Did not enjoy that. So I don't know if I answered your question very well, but those are some of my thoughts on something like that. Jackson, how did you do the Lego movie intro to your video? That was epic. So if you're not talking about, on my Lego Movie 2 intro, I did a stop motion little intro. I don't want to go get... Basically what I did is sitting right here where, I mean, this spot right here, I got the green grass base for my Legos, put it right here, and was shooting just with this camera right here, and then got my figure guy, and I turned his head around so it was the blank face, and I just put him and just I had footage of myself that I filmed myself moving, and I tried to like do the same motions and as best I could. And I even tried to, when I filmed my person of it, tried to think, he can only do this, so how can I only move my arms like that? So then I just stop motion filmed it with the same webcam that I'm using right now. And then I had just green poster board, nothing fancy, green poster board, just wrapped it around it. And then what I did was I went to, I got footage from the trailer, or tried all the footage I could find, clips from both the movies and everything, and tried to find just as much of a face head on talking for 10 seconds straight or whatever. And then I just masked out everything and did a chroma key on the color yellow to take the yellow out of it. And I just plopped that on top of the stop motion Lego that I filmed right here. And then I just had to, like, frame by frame, try and match it up. And actually the eyes and mouth were two different takes, two different pieces of footage where the eyes, I believe, is what I did. Because I had to make things line up a certain way. And just kind of frame by frame, stop motion animated it, and then frame by frame put this footage from the trailer onto the face. I believe the footage I used was from where Wildstyle and Emmett are talking on the patio in the trailer for the second movie. I believe that's footage that I used for the face inside of it. So there you go. Matt G, would you ever consider doing this odd ranking videos that you would think wouldn't work on YouTube, putting them on Patreon instead as a reward for different tiers? Yeah, sort of. Here's the thing that I've run into on Patreon, because I've had this for a couple of years now, and I've tried a lot of different rewards and gone kind of back and forth on what I want to do. The thing I've discovered is every time I've kind of put, if I do a live stream like this, we'll have, I don't know how many people are on right here now. So I have 4 people watching right now, and probably 8 total watched it live at some point in time. And it'll get like 20, 25 views over the course of a week or so. And I have like 75 patrons, so that 1/3 of people look at it. Almost every single time I've done a video exclusive just for Patreon, a movie review, a ranking, anything like that, and posted on there, it just gets like 3 views. Like they're just not, the content doesn't seem to get people to watch. And I kind of look at it and I go, okay, I wouldn't mind that if I felt like people were getting excited about it, but I started doing a deal at the beginning of this year where I was going to talk about every movie that I watched on Patreon. So I would just kind of like shoot it real quick. It wasn't like super high produced. And they would just get like 4 views. People weren't watching them. And then I stopped doing them, just got so busy, and I was going to catch up. But I didn't have any comments saying, hey, where is this? Where is this? Whereas like the live stream, if I'm 10 minutes late, I get message, hey man, you're doing a live stream. And so that's kind of the context of why I haven't done more of that. I just don't feel there's any demand for it. And when I haven't done it and said I was going to do stuff, people didn't seem to care. So if I thought I had something that people would actually watch, that people would be a perk for my patrons, they'll be like, this ranking, they'll actually really like it, then I'd go for it. But it seems like any video that falls into that category, it's worth being on my channel. That's the problem. And some of that's just because my Patreon group matches the rest of my channel, which is it's a very diverse group of people. A lot of them are Marvel fans. Any Marvel content, I can't really do exclusive on here. I could post some stuff early, and I might need to start doing that. I probably should do. I'm never far enough ahead to do that, but those are some of the thoughts. Once again, I'm still talking way too long. Rich Reviews, how many of your teachers are still in school? I have no clue. I have no idea. I haven't been back to my high school in, I don't know, a long time. I've driven by it 1,000 times because I delivered paint over there, but Rich Reviews, my 10-year college reunion is next year. My 10-year college reunion, I don't know if we had a reunion. I guess we didn't. I don't know if there was a reunion or not. But I graduated from college in 2008. It took me 8 years to get my 4-year degree, so last year would have been my 10-year. Rich Reviews, would you rather watch the NBA or an NFL draft? NFL, I follow football a little bit more because I do fantasy football. I don't pay too much. I wouldn't really enjoy either one, but I'd pay more attention to that one. Rich Reviews, have you seen the British documentary, the Up series? Anytime you say, have you seen a British documentary, I'll probably say no. I don't watch a lot of documentaries, and if I do watch documentaries, they're about things that are, I don't know. They're probably not specifically British documentaries, but almost certainly no is the answer, anything like that. Jackson Jorvac, what are your thoughts on televangelism? I mean, maybe there's good examples out there of televangelists. Everything I've seen just seems like shady stuff. It seems to attract a certain group of people. The business model, everything seems shady. So everything I've seen from televangelism seems no bueno. I don't want to say there's no proper. I'm not saying that there's not a use for television in that regard for faith-based things, but televangelism, as it's normally known, seems shady. Rich Reviews, I enjoyed college. I loathe K through 12. Yeah, I didn't really hate K through 12. I just wasn't really engaged. Wasn't plugged in. It just kind of happened. And then college, I just enjoyed it because I got to pick what I was doing, and it was more, writing papers and stuff like that. So I connected with that one a lot more. Rich Reviews, hope in the future we could have another one of those Google Hangouts, which are fun. Yeah, I need to. I need to do something with that. Yeah. Yes, I'll message you, or you can message me. Jackson, would you do a Patreon Fantasy Football League? Yeah, I'd actually be more interested in that than the one I'm in. The one I'm in right now, it's literally something I just was trying to. I felt like I was towards the end of my time in church world. Church was such a bizarre thing where you're like, it's an echo chamber. It's its own echo chamber of sorts. And I don't really like that. It's like a very strange thing. So I was trying to find ways to be more connected to outside of just being a church bubble. And so I took up drinking coffee and fantasy football as a mechanism to have more connections to outside of church world. And so I kind of joined a random one. So I'm in a group with some guys from my mom's church. I know the guy that leads it, but I don't spend time with him. And I have there's a long history with him, actually. It's kind of totally unrelated to the way that I know him. My wife actually dated his brother, which has nothing to do with me meeting her. It has nothing to do with me knowing this guy, but this is a thing that happens to be true. So there's a whole long story in there. But so I'm in a group with him, and I'd much rather be in a group with something more interesting. That would be a pretty fun perk. That'd be an interesting little perk if we actually had enough of us in here to do that. Let's look into that. I'll post about that. See if there's too many people or the right number of people. But that'd be cool. I'll just say that. Yeah, you got to put an idea in my head that I'm actually excited about. I was thinking about trying to do it with some of my other YouTubers, because I know some of my YouTube friends do stuff like that. But if I tweeted that out, I'd have so many people wanting to join. And and I'd have to tell people no, and then it would get weird. And I don't want to do that. But so maybe Patreon's a good way to make that happen. Jackson, they sell Sweetum candy at Fry stores. I saw like 2-pound 9 bar that was labeled child size. There are so many words in that I'm not really sure what they mean. All right. Oh, we are over an hour. I thought I was actually going to go short today, and then the time flies when I'm talking into the mic. So thank you guys so much for talking movies with me, hanging around with me, even as I'm itching my nose. Pretty tired, actually. I literally haven't showered in like 4 days because my daughter, there was a way to do it that a shower that wouldn't wake her up or whatever. So I ended up just like locking myself in the house. So I look crazy. My nose itches, and well, that's dried up hairspray is falling out of my head. So I gotta go shower, wake myself back up, and then I have to film my Conjuring ranking and hopefully get that up today. So there you have it.